This is the Balanced Growth Show with Dr. Travis Perry, helping successful business professionals like you achieve balance in their lives.
Welcome to another episode of the Balanced Growth Show. I am your host, Dr. Travis Perry. Today, we have the privilege of speaking with Dave Zoller. Dave is the owner of Streamline Financial, an advisory firm in the suburbs of Chicago that manages over 270 million AUM. In 2019, he had a team in place, allowed him to remove from the day-to-day, but they weren't achieving the level of growth they wanted. So he started testing various marketing methods while also sharing his findings with other advisors on his website, streamlinemypractice.com. A few years later, they were getting 40 to 60 prospects every month requesting an intro call. And today he's going to share some of those things with him or with us, with the group, with the audience. And so I'm so glad to have you here on the show, Dave. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here, Travis.
Yeah, it's fun to chat with you in the pre-show. We have a lot in common, and you're a great guy already, and I really appreciate your time. It's important for us to, give back to the community, but I think you also have something that every advisor wishes they had, a wait list. So before we jump into that, let's talk about how you got here. Really quick, how'd you get into the advising business and getting into Streamline My Practice?
Yeah, so it was 2009. I was actually doing taxes. That was my first tax season. I wasn't actually doing taxes. I was doing e-filing, if you know what that is. It's electronically filing with the IRS, the people's tax returns, and then also doing inputting. And so that first tax season, I still got a good idea of how it's interesting. You think it is from outside looking in very boring, right? The idea of taxes or even financial planning seems like a boring industry. But the thing I learned, two things. It was 2009, right during the great financial crisis. And what I realized was people were coming out of the meetings, or if meetings I was attending, and they were talking a lot more than just the financial things. We actually had to put Kleenex boxes in every room because about 25% of the people would be crying because they were talking about something financial related and opening up about a lot more than just money, which was pretty wild. And I wondered why would you be sharing these personal details with your accountant? It was fascinating because I guess I learned if they open up about money, when someone opens up about money, they can open up about many other things. So that was interesting. The other thing was, and again, hopefully I'm not going too long, but it just this is the stuff that got me excited about the financial industry. I was doing these e-filing. At the end of the day, your eyes are bloodshot and you're just doing it all day looking at the computer. And somebody called up and you could kind of hear the trepidation or fear in her voice. And she was like, "Mr. Zoller, did I file my taxes, or did you file my taxes?" And I clicked a couple buttons and saw she was filed and said, "Yeah, it's all filed and it's accepted and you're all done." And then you could hear the weight lifted off her shoulders. And she said something like, to me, it was very odd, but it was like, "Oh, Mr. Zoller, thank you. You're like a calm island in the middle of a stormy sea." And it was just like, what? I was thinking to myself, what are you talking about? But then after that really solidified, wow, this is important stuff. And removing that burden from someone's shoulders was just fascinating and a great feeling. So after the tax season, I started working part-time at a financial firm and the tax firm, doing both for a few years, and then getting all my licenses to become an advisor, to become a CFP. In 2016, I became a partner at the financial firm. And now it's Tim and I at Streamline Financial as 50-50 owners, and things are going great. We learned in the last 2 years, we built a great team before that point, but we didn't have the growth needed to support everything. So that's when I focused on the marketing side and the sales side. And over the last 2 years, we figured out how to do this marketing stuff and have a firm that has a wait list and more people than we can help, fortunately or unfortunately. So we're trying to figure that out now.
Yeah, it's a good and bad problem to have, right? And this is why I like to put balance and growth together, whether it's balancing your work and business life or multiple business aspects. There's always that concern. And I appreciate you kind of filling us in on where you're headed. And my wheels were spinning a little bit thinking, when you were doing taxes and helping people with their money, it's such an emotional experience this is why a lot of people end up in financial counseling and financial planning with financial therapy and financial coaching. So I love that you recognize that and you see this as something that it really is, and that's the connection. It's a way to help people. So many advisors I do talk to love what they do, in part because of the emotional connection with their clients and the value they're able to give. So I love what you're doing, man. That's great.
Thanks.
Why is balance, kind of to follow up to this and get started on the balance discussion, why is balance important to you?
Yeah. So balance, I would say, so as I was thinking about this podcast and thinking about what you're doing, it reminded me of that, I don't even know what it's called, not a story, but it's that idea of life is like a game where you're juggling 5 balls, right? You've got work, the work ball, family, health, friends, and spirit or soul or faith. And you realize that the work one is actually made of rubber, but the other 4 are made of glass, right? Work can bounce back. The other ones, if you mess them up, they're not going to come back the same way that they went down. So that is important. And just the being an entrepreneur or an advisor, most of us, hopefully, we really love what we do and we enjoy it. We like it, and we like the connection with people. We like the behind the scenes planning things. And it can be hard to end the workday, especially the last few years when we were more at home versus being in the office during the pandemic and everything. It can be hard to close up the work mode and then get to the family mode. I've got 2 little kids, well, not so little, 8 and 6, and a wife that I want to be. I want my kids to be to know that I'm the dad that they want to be with, and a husband that my wife wants to be with. So I can't be the work guy all the time, even though a lot of times I feel like it. So it's just I guess it's just the realization that if you fall out of balance with one of those areas, it really kind of upsets the whole apple cart. So it's important.
Yeah. I mean, there is no equilibrium. And I think some people think that balance is doing everything at the same time, which is a myth. It doesn't work. It doesn't happen. But what you mentioned there is priorities. Like what's most important, and those things, they need to be taken care of because yes, they're that important to you. It's going to be a different effect. Work is important. It's true. Like they're all important priorities, but it's keeping that in order. I had another podcast guest recently who said, we're at work so that we can have the time to be with our family, to do these things, to have great health, not the other way around. So I appreciate you mentioning that. As an entrepreneur yourself, you're a business owner. How have you scaled your business while trying to really keep that balance?
Yeah, well, the thing that really helped was building the team, right? Many advisors start out as the solo person, guy or gal, doing it all. And we did that for a long time. It took us a long time to build a team, to add new players in. At first, it was Tim and Toby and myself. And that was it. And then we got a front desk person, and then we got a client service. And now we've got a team of 8, and we're all specialized in certain areas. The area that I chose to specialize in was really, if you think about the 6 parts of the business, you need the marketing to attract people, you need the sales to turn them into clients, and then the product service, you need to deliver on the promises that you offer these people. That's kind of the external things. And then the internal is the operations and the internal finances, and then the people. So I chose to focus on the marketing and sales part of the business. So getting specialized and not knowing that I've got a lot of weaknesses, and you can actually find people who can fill in your weaknesses, whose strengths those are. It reminds me of, I don't know if you've ever heard that. What is it? It's the verse that says, redeem the time because the days are hard or the days are evil. That redeem word is actually buy back your time because the days are hard, which is interesting. And being someone of faith, that's important to me. So being able to buy back time, what does that really mean? It means you can't do it all. You have to spend money to get people who are good and who want to do some of these things, who have strengths. And then that frees up your time to focus on the things that can really move the needle, that your unique ability is. Has helped a lot with balance for everybody at Streamline.
Yeah, you mentioned two really important things. Know where your unique ability, or what I call your work sweet spot, really is. What is that for you? Work in it, right? Set boundaries so that you're not doing everything or overstepping other people's bounds. The other, I know that's super important, is just kind of respect the time that you do have. Because really, at the end of the day, you're the only one that can do that. No one else can do that for you. And that is super important. So I love that you've got this focus on marketing, and you've taken this to not only help your own firm, get to 40 to 60 prospects incoming to your firm every month, but now you're sharing that with others, and that's growing. I mean, that part of your business is growing leaps and bounds. While you're doing that, while you are scaling and you're growing so fast, what would you say is your biggest struggle with scaling without losing that sense of balance?
The biggest struggle with scaling without losing the balance. Well, again, good problems to have. Right now, we have a lot of people coming in, and it feels like a disservice not to be able to help them. So we're trying to figure out where to point them in the right direction, or how to point them in the right direction, so that it's just like closed doors, can't help you. We want to help people. So that actually led us to create a separate online course, the DIY retirement course for people. That helped us to create some other things, other products out there for people that we can't help. So that's a struggle. I think also too, just with growth, you find out where the holes are and where our own limitations are in terms of how many clients can each individual advisor help, or how many meetings can we have in a week. Or there's always something. Whenever you have a team of people, there's always issues or little things that come up, and we don't want anyone overloaded, dangerously overchallenged, or overworked. We want them to do the things they're really good at. For our advisors, it's helping people make smart money decisions. For our team, it's also the cool thing about what we're doing is we're all getting involved in people's lives, and we're having deeper than money conversations. Our client service associates, and really everybody is having these deep conversations, which is important to us. But yeah, the challenge might be just making sure nobody gets too overloaded because we're growing so fast.
Yeah, and I like to look at balance growth as a offense and defense. And we talked about this in the pre-show, kind of a team approach where, a lot of firms are going towards this team approach. And obviously you guys have embraced that, where you've got the offense, they're bringing in, the marketing is doing so well, sales is doing great. And then now the pressure's on the defense, operations, fulfillment, whatever kind of business that you're in. It doesn't have to be financial planning, but any type of business that you're in, you've got those parts of your business. And there's a good balance between those, the offense and the defense. Defense gets run down, the team's going to suffer, and vice versa. So, what has helped you guys, knowing that is a struggle, that hiring, training, getting the right people in the right spots? What do you think has helped you the most to really, stay afloat on that?
Yeah, well, maybe very early on, this is a tip for any advisor or entrepreneur who it's mainly them wearing most of the hats. It's creating the do not do list, right? At the end of the day, and just writing down really all the things that you did, or maybe each hour thinking about just to spend time on this, and then looking at going through the lens. What do I enjoy doing? What moves the needle? Like, what's the highest value thing? And then figure out the things that are the lowest value and aren't moving the needle. And that might be the do not do list. That's your first job description when you get enough things to get someone. So that's for kind of the solo person. What we did recently, really 3 years ago, Tim and I, we got the 6 parts of the business and kind of the organization chart of all of the roles in the business. Under the marketing, there's multiple, picture it as the 6 boxes and then a bunch of boxes underneath. that are required to have that department operate. So we got that, and then we filled our names in the areas that we were the head of. And then the areas that we're not good at, that we wanted to replace ourselves in, we highlighted those red. And those were the areas we focused on. So since that point, we've got an excellent operations manager, someone who's really becoming the person to oversee all of the ops department. We've got 2 amazing CSAs. We had 1, and now we have 2 that are complementing each other really well. So it was really figuring out very clearly on that org chart, we got to get out of here. We got to remove ourselves so that we can focus more on the thing that we're uniquely gifted at. That was a big helpful exercise.
Yeah, it's so good. I've heard several others and other time management experts talk about the to not do list, right? And whatever you want to call it. Quite honestly, we talk about this a lot in Achieving Balance, but boundaries. What are your boundaries? What are the things you are not going to do? And what can protect you from crossing that? Michael Kitces interviewed me, right? The onslaught of the COVID pandemic, and it was in, I think, April or so. And we were talking about this, like he wanted to know, well, how do you work at home? And I have 6 kids at home, which we homeschool. So they're running around, they're doing stuff, they're going crazy because they don't have the, all the regular things that they can go out and do. Because, we homeschool, that doesn't mean they're inside all day. They go out and do stuff and have activities, classes, etc. And, I said, hey, I'm in this little office inside my home and I have the door shut. There's no lock on it, but I created my home office like a fortress. And here's the castle. I'm up on a hill, so I can view everything else. I know the enemy's coming. The enemy is distraction. It's not my children, by the way. I've got these walls and a castle, and I've got a moat and a drawbridge, so like it can protect me from all of these things. Yet we tend to think as business owners or even as advisors, we got to be everything for everyone, do everything, and not have any boundaries, because that would somehow put us at risk of not being our best. Yet for literally thousands of years, kings, queens, dukes, duchesses, they've figured this out. Nobody just comes waltzing up to a castle and talking to the king. They've got to go through the drawbridge, through the wall, get into the side, go all the way up to wherever, this highfalutin person is to meet with him. Yet every day we let that happen, every single day. And it could be in the form of activities, distractions, people in the office or at home. It doesn't matter. So when I answered his question, it's like, you've got to create this fortress. You have to create boundaries inside work so that you can stay focused and productive. And I know we could talk about this forever, but that just really hit home for me. And I appreciate you letting me elaborate a little bit on this. What advice would you give to other financial advisors, business owners, or even entrepreneurs out there to help them to streamline their practice without losing their balance?
So to streamline your practice, there is a lot we could talk about here. Here's one thing. If you're interested in attracting more people and people who are interested in working with you, I think the idea of stop prospecting, stop going out to people and trying to convince them of what you do and why it's valuable, but instead, don't prospect, but just become more findable, meaning put yourself in places where people can find you and get help from you before you even meet them in person. If you know what I'm talking about putting helpful information on something online, whether it is LinkedIn posts that could be helpful. We started a YouTube channel, which took off, and that's the main driver of new business now. And all we're doing is we're not doing it to become famous and to become whatever social media influencers. We're doing it to help people. And in the beginning, when you start doing this, you're getting 0 or 5 views, right? And you feel like a failure. It's hard to be an accomplished advisor who maybe is at the top of their game right now, and then to lower themselves to do a brand new thing they've never done before and feel like a failure. But that's what you have to do if you're interested in growing. Whether you're someone who wants to grow their business or you're an advisor who's in their 50s and 60s, and maybe you're thinking about, handing off a lot of business so that you can still have some relationships or grow the business. But instead, you're just the main attractor, the rainmaker person, and you're doing that by helping people. That's the thing that's really changed for us is stop prospect. There's really five ways to find new clients or to have new clients come to you. You can either do paid marketing, you can do referrals, you can do cold traffic like seminars and door knocking, which most people wouldn't want to do. And then the other ones, you can do organic content. And then there's one more I'm trying to think of, which I can't think of right now, but we focus on the organic content, and it's kind of like a flywheel. You just start helping people do the things that work over time, and that really pays off. So that's one piece of advice. The other thing related, can I share what I do,
Please.
kind of the tools I use for balance
Yeah.
at the end of the day, is really it's kind of like a thinking framework at the end of the work day. The thing that's helped a lot is this concept from Dan Sullivan, which is the gap in the gain. And have you heard of that one before? It's the idea of you've got this goal that you're going for, whether it's number of new clients or whatever it might be, or some goal that you're focused on, and you're measuring yourself where you are now to this future goal that you're nowhere close to, or you feel like you're never going to get it. And that is the gap. And if you only measure yourself that way, that's going to lead to a lot of discontentment in just your work feeling in life. But instead, if you measured where you came from and how much progress you've made, so the actual tangible thing to do at the end of the day is you could do the simple way and write down 3 wins. That's it. At the end of the workday, just write down 3 wins. If you feel like it, or if you feel bad at the end of the day, you could write down what you wish you did, or what you didn't get to that you wish you did. But the 2 questions I'll ask myself often are, what progress did I make today that made today better than the day before? That's a useful exercise. The second question is, what progress do I want to make tomorrow that's going to make tomorrow better than today? Those 2 questions have helped a lot at the end of the day to help me really get from full focus flow to recovery flow, which is family time, and kind of disconnect the 2.
Yeah, I think that's super important. I'm a fan of Dan Sullivan's. There's a lot of great work he's doing out there for advisors too, and for other business owners. But yeah, I personally think that less is more. Less is more. We try to be super complicated as business owners, planners. We want everything to be planned out right and blah, blah, blah. But man, if we can just keep what's super important right in front of us most of the time, we're not going to be distracted. We're not going to be taken off course, and we can keep, moving forward. So I love these concepts. That really does help a lot. If advisors want to learn more about you, Dave, and learn more about the Streamline Your Practice idea, where can they go? I know we have streamlinemypractice.com. Is that the best place?
Go there. And there's a YouTube channel, Streamline My Practice as well. So those 2 places. Yeah.
Thanks for being on the show. We appreciate your time and your, giving back to the industry, but also to entrepreneurs at large who listen to this show now, who are wanting to grow, wanting to take your advice from avoiding the things that you're struggling with or learning from them, and the things that you do really well. So thanks again for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. This was great.
Guys, gals, if you've enjoyed listening, being a part of us, maybe watching us on the YouTube channel, like, subscribe, share this with another business owner, financial advisor who might need this in their life today. And again, until we meet, keep remembering to live your life on purpose.